What's going on, everyone? It's Dungeon here, and today we're checking out some of the best early game weapons for Dark Souls 1. Let's get right on into it. Alright, you guys, let's put down some ground rules real fast. First things first, these are just some early game, really good weapons. They're not necessarily late game weapons. They're not necessarily mid game weapons. They're early game weapons, which means you can get them early on and they're good. Secondly, it's not every single early game weapon that's really good, because there are a bunch in this game that you can get really early on and they are wonderful weapons. So stay tuned for more videos on specific weapons and attacks and stuff like that that are more oriented to a specific type of build. So the first weapon on this list is the Zweihander, and you get it really early on. As soon as you get into Firelink, all you have to do is head on over to the cemetery, and it's right there. And it's such a good weapon. It's really quite astounding that a weapon that can be used all the way into the late game, new game plus, and stuff like that, you can get within the first few moments of actually starting the game. The next awesome weapon to get would be the Great Club, and in order to do that, just like other weapons that are in this area, you have to go down underneath Firelink Shrine, past New Londo Ruins, and then using the Master Key, you can go into the Valley of the Drakes and or Blighttown. As an aside, you can get the large club from the troll-like enemies entering into Blighttown from this area, and the large club is an excellent weapon. It actually does poison damage on top of doing a lot of strength damage like the Great Club. But if you're going for the 100% way to get a strength weapon, the Great Club up ahead is on the floor as a standard drop, and it is a massive weapon. It actually is not super heavy, and it does tons of strength strike damage. So in this one, we're also going to use the Master Key to get to the Valley of the Drakes. So we're going to go left across this little bridge, and then we're going to gain access up ahead to probably the best Black Knight weapon, which is the Black Knight Halberd. But there are other Black Knight weapons. They're all really good. Like, for example, you can get the Black Knight Sword from Black Knight that is in the Undead Burg, and you can get a Black Knight Greatsword from the Black Knight in the Undead Parish. But this one you can get as soon as you pretty much load up the game, as long as you have the Master Key. And the trick for this one is that you don't have to necessarily kill them with a bunch of damage. You can, but the easier way to do it is to lure him to the edge and then just do a backstab and knock him off, and then he'll die. And then in your inventory you'll get if it's a 20% chance, but you can get the Black Knight Halberd and something else, a chunk or something like that, which is good. For those of you clerics out there, grab the Master Key, go to the Valley of Drakes, and get yourself the Astora Straight Sword. It is a super good early game weapon. You just got to be careful, because getting this thing from the Undead Dragon will aggro the Undead Dragon, and you will die if you don't get out of there real quick. The only caveat to this is that it's only an early game weapon. I would not advise upgrading this thing, but it is really good. It does split damage though, unfortunately. The Claymore is the next weapon, and you do have to fight the Taurus Demon to gain access to the Hellkite Bridge from which you find it. But once you do get it, then it is an amazing weapon, scaling pretty much strength and dexterity with an amazing moveset, very reliable. The Drake Sword is a great early game weapon that you gain access to after the Taurus Demon and after you've made sure the Hellkite Dragon is in the Undead Burg and on the Hellkite Bridge. Once you've done that though, you can cut off its tail. I like to use a bow in order to get the sword. While it is a fantastic early game weapon that probably is going to do about twice the amount of damage than any other weapon you get early on, it unfortunately doesn't scale with stats, so it really won't be good once you get into the mid-game. The Baldur's Side Sword is pretty much the best straight sword in the game, whether you are using the metric of damage or moveset or the length of the blade itself. It primarily scales with dex, but don't let that interfere with you wanting to use it. It's a fantastic weapon. The only downside, it is actually a 1% drop from the Baller Knights that carry it. So it took me a couple hours, but then I got 2 right away. You go ahead and give your hand at it, and maybe you'll get it on the first try. Who knows? The Great Scythe is widely regarded as one of the, if not the best weapon in Dark Souls 1. It is a dex weapon that has an amazing reach, has great damage, and does bleed damage. But in order to get this, you do have to follow the path shown on the screen and push in levers and go through the catacombs, which is not a fun place, especially early on, because the enemies have to be killed with divine auxiliary damage. By the way, you can get that with the Astora straight sword. But that being said, I would not recommend coming down here unless you really want to try this weapon out, or you're kind of experienced, or you just want to do it, because you're probably going to end up dying about 5 to 10 times, because this is a really tough area when you first load in to the game. But the rewards are worth it. This weapon is super duper awesome. Don't trust patches, by the way. And if you've played with this weapon, if you have seen someone play with this weapon, then you probably know that this is one of the best, if not the best weapon. Another great weapon you can get after you grab the Great Scythe is actually the Gravelord's sword. All you gotta do from the Great Scythe is follow the path on the screen, grab the eye at the end of the hall over here, Eye of Death, and then you gotta jump into the coffin so that you can join into the Gravelord Covenant. When you're in the coffin, it might take a while, just hold tight, and you'll be teleported to the Gravelord, join the Covenant, gain the weapon, and man, it is a fantastic strength-based weapon that will do some work, and it also does toxic, which is crazy, man. So try this one out. Very fun. Alright, you guys, that concludes my video on the best early game weapons of Dark Souls 1. And for those of you who didn't see your favorite early game weapon, shout out to the Falchion and the Uchigatana. Tell us which ones you use in the comments down below. Also, try to give some love to WolfKid24 as he provided some of the music for today's video. If you had fun, if you learned something, if you enjoyed watching this, hit that like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, press the bell icon so you don't miss another video. And as always, thanks, stay cool, and bye everyone.